All right, I have 6 o'clock. We will start our Board of Zoning Appeals regular meeting for 12/9/2025. Would everyone please rise and we'll do a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Next item on the agenda is, Paul, would you please call roll?
Member Johns,
Yes.
Member Mayor,
Yes.
Member Sharp,
Present.
Member Hemingway is not in today, and Member Rathman.
Here. We have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from November 18th, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? If so, what is the pleasure of the BZA?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Member Johns,
Yes.
Member Mayor,
Yes.
Member Sharp,
Yes.
and Member Rathman.
Yes. We have no preliminary hearings tonight, so moving to public hearings. The first one we have is BZA 25009. It's developmental standard variance. Sean Bagley, represents Smith Town of Munster. Request variance from section 266405Q private lighting standards. Height, head type, and color temperature for replacement of parking lot lighting at Eads Elementary located 8000 Jackson Avenue. And 8001 Harrison Avenue. So I'll turn it over to you for staff presentation.
Sure. Eads Elementary is looking to replace all their parking lot lights. They're not looking to relocate anything that hasn't or is not already existing. They're just replacing the same location. They're proposing to replace 14 lights, one near a residential district or near a residential zone area, and then 4 along Jackson Avenue with the other called Harrison Avenue, but they are within the interior drive. It's both along Jackson and Harrison. The request is to vary from these standards, the town standards with regards to the light head type. They're proposing an off-road type overhead. We'll see that a little bit in the next image. Actually, you can see this here compared to what is there now. It's more boxy. This is a more streamlined off-road overhead type, a more modern look. They are also proposing to increase the height of the post of the pole to 20 feet. What's permitted is a 20-foot height pole. They're proposing 25-foot height pole. And then the color temperature, they're proposing a 5,000 K color temperature per code requirements is a 3,000 K color temperature. The difference really is the higher the number, the more white it appears. The lower the number, the more yellow tone it has with that. So they're asking variance from those 3 standards of our zoning code.
Thank you, Sergio. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Okay. Is someone here to speak on behalf of the petitioner? So please state your name and address.
Sir, Sean Bagley, Director of Operations, School Town Hospital. We, as Sergio said, we would like to replace the lights. They are the original lights. They're over 20 years old. The height right now from the base of the concrete up to the base of the fixture is 23.9. The fixture does continue to go up, so the height is right now approximately 25 feet. So we don't want to change the height. The color now is 5,000. We certainly can make adjustments. We do want to be good neighbors. We currently we have a photo cell, so we just turn them on when the light goes, the sun goes down. At Elliott, we only light every 3rd light to keep the lighting down when we're not in use, and we can adjust the wattage to lower the brightness of them. But there are times where we do need to light up the entire facility. We have the Venture Club is a perfect example. Went by today, it was completely dark, and it is pretty dark in that back area as the kids are loading at Eats and Elliott in the back area of the school. And we do have evening programs and evening events where people are utilizing the facility. We've had neighbors complain about some of the lights, and we have disabled some of them in order to be good neighbors and work with people. But we would like to move forward with this project.
Is there any questions for school counselor?
I have a question, since there's a similarity between this and our next one. Can we discuss them at the same time?
Well, I think we should keep them separate since we have two separate public hearings. Correct, Ms. Bennett? Probably better if we keep each one. focused
For
on-
purposes of the public hearing, yes, as for your discussion, it's really up to you how you want to go about that, as long as the public hearing and any vote or action is separate.
Any questions regarding?
Mr. Wrigley, I feel like in our last meeting, you were agreeable to reduce the height to 20 feet.
Yeah, we could do that. And also, if there's fueling options we need to use, we could do that. They're amenable to working with everybody.
I have a
I had that impression.
question. Mr. Bailey, you indicated that the overall height is 23 with the head height.
So from the base of the concrete, so the concrete is about 2 feet, so it's over 25 feet.
Okay.
Measuring from the base up to the bottom of the fixture, it's 23.9 inches. And then up in the front parking lot, it goes up and it kind of points out like that.
I just for clarification, what is the overall pole height? Just the
The
pole.
overall pole height, I could give an estimation,
Okay.
would be probably 26, 27 feet.
That's
Well, if you're counting the concrete,
Oh, from the ground
just
to
the
the
pole
top.
itself, just the pole.
the pole itself is that you're recommending is 25 feet.
Okay, the pole is
Yeah.
25 feet, and then the height, the light fixture is.
The light fixture would be on that 2 3/8
Okay.
post, and then it would sit flush on top of it. And it wouldn't go up like the current ones do.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Begley, the pole that you're proposing to replace is the exact same height with what's there now?
It would be with the overall height of the curved fixture. When you, so the pole is going up. And then it points up, and then the fixture is like this. The new fixture, so it's 23.4 from the base of the concrete up to the base of the fixture. So this would go 25 feet up, and it would be perfectly flush mounted. That makes sense.
So
It-
if you were able to use the poles that you're proposing, would they be taller than what's there now? To the absolute top,
No, it would be the same
be
height.
about the same. Okay, gotcha. Okay, and then did you do photometrics with a 20-foot high pole?
I did not, I did it with the 25 foot.
So you don't have an alternate?
No,
plan
but with the 25 foot, it would be less.
With the 20,
Yeah, if we went with the 20, it would be less.
So-
You want to have about 2-foot candles. To appropriately light the parking lot.
so the,
And I could have the lighting engineer run that again.
Yeah.
when you were given your intro, you said that you turn off at every third pole?
On the back of Elliott, every third light is out.
Okay,
Now, we could turn them all on. We want to save energy and we don't want light bleeding over into the neighbors. So there are times though where you have an evening event, we have to light it up because people are coming in and out.
okay, but on a daily basis, you
On a daily
turn off
basis.
every other,
Yeah, if
Every
you went
third.
by Elliott right now in the back, every third light is on. And there was a letter of remonstrance that we disabled that light is on.
That's the other property. This is, right?
yeah, we're talking
Oh,
about.
we're talking about East. Oh,
East,
sorry.
East, right.
It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A little confusing. Yeah, we're talking about,
We're talking about East.
East.
Yeah.
okay, so,
Yeah, we have all the lights on. And it's not, there's such a distance between the back of the school and the outside properties that.
Right. So, I am looking at Eve's photometric plan right now. So there, you do have some houses that back up to the road,
Yes,
and you don't turn off any of those lights on a daily basis.
no, we haven't had any complaints from that I know of.
It's pretty well. Look,
And I
down to
believe,
two on most of them, except for the apron and sidewalk, you know.
and I believe this is the property line here, so it would be even a little less.
Less.
Yeah,
But just look at the photometric drops down considerably.
Yeah.
Even all. But not as much. Here.
And then as far as the lumens go, so current code is 3,000, you're proposing 5,000.
that's what we have now. It's what we have now.
Questions for? Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here to speak on, public hearing BZA 25009? This is for the 8,000 Jackson Avenue and 8001 Harrison Avenue, which is Eads Elementary. If so, please state your name and address for the record. Going once. Going twice. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the BZA.
Mr. Chairman, my understanding from the staff is that they prefer the 20-foot high pole. So do we need to request a petitioner to revise his request and prepare a photometric plan using the 25 or the 20-foot high pole?
You're asking me my opinion, or are you asking?
I'm asking your opinion.
My opinion, I would say, no, the 20-foot pole would be less lumens than 25.
Would disperse less.
So the photometrics would go down. I think you would delay this another month if the school planning months are looking to establish and set those around their buildings for safety and security. Are you asking my other further opinions regarding anything else? I'll give you that too. I mean, you're looking at the foot candles at a 25-foot compared to the 20-foot. I don't see any bleed issues with lighting here based on my technical experience of looking at these photometric plans.
Excuse me, Roland, would you mind speaking louder?
Okay.
It's hard to hear you.
There's no
We
microphone.
don't have to.
Pay attention.
But I still
Okay.
hear.
Just looking at the photometric plan that I see at the property line, the numbers I see compared to where the houses are, to me, look like they meet codes and bleed light and stuff like that onto other properties. So the fugitive lighting doesn't look like an issue at this location.
So I guess rather than denying the height request, would it make more sense to allow, to table that and allow the petitioner to review going with 20-foot high poles, and if that will work for their home?
I believe, school town of Munster, I believe you already stated about going with a 20-foot pole at this location. Is that correct?
Yeah, if it pleases the commission for me to get a study on that, I can do that and bring it back to the commission. Or I could just go with the 20-foot pole. I would, if the 20-foot pole is requested, I would prefer to get a study on it because, again, we do have to make sure it's have some minimal lighting, and if it's to the point where it's not illuminating the areas where people are coming in and out. In our best interest, make sure we're.
Well, you want to make sure your site is safe and secure.
Correct. I don't want to go and say yes, then put it in and it's not light. So I certainly would say look for it.
So, I guess the question, that comes to my mind is would it be across the board going to 20? Or are there some locations at one of these schools where it absolutely needs to be 25 feet high?
I mean, the study will tell us that.
Okay, so maybe we'll table this and then you can go back and get with your engineer.
They can throw this right in and then they can have it back in a couple days.
When were you looking at installing the lights? So I mean, did you have a target date? I mean, did you have it
Back in September.
back in September?
Okay, in an effort not, to Mr. Chairman. In an effort not to make you wait until spring thaw, could this committee make a motion to approve subject to Ms. Bennett, what will we say? So that he doesn't have to come back.
You could, if you're using the, core motion as was proposed by, Mr. Mendoza to approve, the request for the proposed off-road Cobra light fixture and 5,000 K temperature, contingent upon the lighting, what's the word I want, photometric plan, meeting the town code requirement for foot candles at the height of 20 feet
And
on the light pole.
providing the necessary security for the school.
Well,
But what
I think
happened?
there's more to it than that because we've got a remonstrance here.
Not this one.
Well, not this one, correct.
Yes.
It's a response to your question. So,
Okay.
you know,
I'm just trying to make it so that, assuming that being in compliance.
So like I'm doing.
All right.
So it's not hard for me to come back.
Okay,
And it'd probably be, again, there's not a lot of outside work going on anyway with the weather, so it would be fine to start in February.
It's gonna take you a while to get these pole lights anyway.
Well, yeah, there is a wait time on it.
Now, would you look at areas that if you're low on light and the foot candles are too low? Would you
I would-
look at sort of 25 in some areas, 20 in
Yes, sir.
other areas based on?
If you look at the eaves in the front, there are some areas that have zero.
Right.
At the entrance and the exit, which, you know, you assume risk there because you don't have a lot of people walking there, but there are some sidewalks. You know, and we do have the lighting from the street that doesn't make that difference.
For a motion.
I'll make a motion to table this to next month's meeting.
Ms. Bennett?
yes,
We have a motion. There's a question. Since we open and close the public hearing, if there's any other residents that like to speak, we can open it back on. Correct?
Yes, you
So
can.
Chair's discretion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are you guys, does this cover the Elliott School?
No, not yet. So we have a motion. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second
We
it.
have a motion second. Any other further discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Member Johns,
Yes,
member Mayor,
Yes,
member Sharp,
Yes.
and member Rapp.
Yes. Next item on the agenda, we have BZA 25 and BZA 2510, development of standard variance. Sean Bagley, representing school town, wants to request variance from section 26.6.405Q, private lighting standards, height, head type, and color temperature for replacement of parking lot lighting at Elliott Elementary located at 8178 White Oak Avenue. Sergio, I'll turn this over to you.
So this is the same request for Elliott School. They're looking to replace 19 existing pole lights for parking and drive aisles They are proposing to replace 6 pole lights fronting from 35th Street within the internal drive aisle and parking area, and 6 poles in the rear of the property of the school along the drive aisle exiting onto White Oak. And seven additional poles would be adjacent or abutting residential districts, potentially impacting some residential homes. They are again proposing their head type to be a more modern, sleek, off-road or overhead type. They're proposing 25-foot height poles, and as well as 5,000 K color temperature. The code requires 3,000 color K color temperature and 20-foot pole heights. So this is the request that will bring up the floor metrics as part of that discussion, and then we get this overall site as well.
Thank you, Sergio. Does anyone have any questions from BZA for staff? Same thing, notice field, name and address for public
John
record.
Beckley, Director of Operations, Town Munster. Much the same as Eads, as these are the same exact design of schools, although there is a smaller footprint, so we are closer to the neighbors. The age of the lights are over 20 years old. We want to do a replacement in kind, keeping the height and the color type the same. Again, we're willing to make adjustments with dual sensor to include motion and photo cell. We have worked with our neighbors with every third light. Height wattage, shielding to prevent light bleeding over. As you can look at the study, it shows that there is minimal light over to the sides, and these lights all point back towards the school. And as I said in the other presentation, we do have times where we have after school activities, especially this time of year when the night comes on around 4 o'clock. The Venture Club gets dropped off 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning. They get picked up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon. We would like to have those areas lit so those kids, when they're coming out, going to the car, can see. Then what we've done back there is light every third light when we're not having a major event, to keep the lighting down, saving energy. And in response to monstrance, we have disabled the light at the end of the drive to keep that light from shining at the neighbor's yard. And any questions, that's all I have in this presentation.
Anyone have questions for Australia School Town Munster?
I'm feeling a similar,
It's very similar.
okay. And so but the numbers on this photometric plan are much higher than they were on the Elliott. You've got some 7s on here.
Yeah, we are closer to the property.
So, in this instance, lowering shortening up the pole lights, you're gonna drop those numbers. But is that gonna be even enough to get them in the reasonable range?
I certainly can bring that study back. We can see where it is. I can provide that as soon as I get it to the panel.
So, I guess besides the whole height, the lumens as well, having a place in this with these numbers. So is that, are you absolute on the 5,000?
No, we can adjust that. I mean, the 3,000 does get much more yellow and it's a little bit harder to see. So we'd like to perhaps 4,000. Or we do an adjustment with the wattage, lower the performance.
Okay. Sergio, do we have a quote on what the photometric numbers maximum is?
There is no maximum, it's minimum, typically at the property line is 0, adjacent to different homes, so.
Which still means somewhat.
Yes, 0 means no, but does not mean no light, it means you still will have light, it's just on the meter it reads 0.
So, they've got 7s on here.
At the property line, that's where it would have to be measured.
So I'm looking at P8, P7, and P8. Can you scroll?
Over here.
I don't think that's.
Piece down?
Is that a property line?
The property line is, yeah, that is, that's a tight property line, yeah.
Same thing with, yeah.
And then on what, P12 and P13, there's also a 7, 6, and
Yeah, we're right up close with the property there. And if I can point out, this is where the Adventure Club kids come out, come down and get in the car.
Okay.
That area.
Sure, Jones, I'm sure, Board of Safety and, police have looked at this obviously for requests on lighting out to be safe. Did they give any opinions on lighting and safety in schools?
There was no response from, the police department and fire department at the time this was submitted for Saturday.
So I assume there was no negative or no positive, just no comment. Any other questions for?
well, I'd like to give him some kind of direction of what we're looking for, but
I think if I can provide them, hey, can you give me a study at 20-foot height and a 4,000 foot and a 3,000, 3K and 4K.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Any
I'll
more
make a-
questions? But I can't make a motion. Doesn't have public hearing.
okay.
That being said, this is a public hearing, and if anyone would like to come up and speak on behalf of the public, please state your name and address for the record.
Okay, Pete Franco, I live at 1432 35th Street. We are at the very, right along the western edge of the school property.
Chelsea, yours up here.
Where
You
we
can
live
point
right
out.
next.
Show him like that.
Scroll up a bit, Sergio.
And to the side. Roll to the right. Yeah.
Right by-
We're right along the
Right
bus.
along.
We're right along the
Right
fence
there,
line,
right
western
there.
fence. Right next to
Are you the first house at P7?
We're- Yes,
Okay.
and as you can see, these lights here, these two are absolutely intolerable to us. They shine light, they penetrate every single window of our house. We cannot sleep. The folks at Elliott School have been good enough for the past 5, 6 years to just not even use those. And quite frankly, all they light up is the exit. Just this area where there's nothing anyways. There's far from the playground. There are also street lights within 15 yards that light this area up where there's nothing. This is where the gate is. And that's basically it. Hopefully, I don't know what you guys want to do here. We're not concerned with that, but these two lights here are absolutely intolerable to us. Any light there. The Elliott School, like I said, has been good enough to just not even use them. They have nothing to do with anything going at the school or the playground or anywhere else. I mean, we need to sleep. My wife works in the emergency room. She gets up at 5 in the morning to work at 7. We've tolerated everybody lining up here. We get off of work at 3. We have to wait till all this traffic goes before we can get into our driveway. That we can handle, but not these lights. So I ask you to work with us there. That's it.
Come on up here, name and address for us.
If there's a special event,
Name and address.
1432 35th Street,
And name,
Roseanne Larson.
thank you.
Thank you. If there's a special event, I'm all for having lights on, not a big deal, but every day they light our whole house up. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Rappin, for the record, I do believe that Mr. Franco sent in a written
Yeah.
demonstration as well.
I was gonna say that after.
Yep, if that's the case, so we'll make that part of the record.
Thank you, Ms. Stein.
Terry Murphy, 1531 Janice Lane. I'm adjacent to the bus lane. The engineer mentioned about changing the wattage. How do you propose changing the wattage when usually lamp fixtures are set wattage? You would have to get something that was like switch selectable or something like that, and that's usually not very common.
It would be a different head type.
But
It would be a totally different head type with that kind of wattage.
I mean, he said selectable between,
No, we would get a different.
Yeah, it would be a different fixture.
and then I would just state that the ones on the opposite side of the school from our house on the 35th side, the poles are actually over the school and they shine to our back family room windows, which makes it difficult to function in our house. So I would prefer 20-foot poles. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up and speak on behalf of this petition? And like you heard me said with Ms. Bennett, when the school town of Munster presents their study based on the 20-foot poles and the change in the fixture, this will come again in front of the BZA, and the chairman will have the right to open it back up for a public hearing. And I'm gonna say going once, going twice. 3 times I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the BZA. I'm looking for a similar motion, the last motion that we had, asking the school town of Munster to present the 20-foot pole as well as the change in the fixture wattage.
I have a question first, if I may, for Mr. Bagley.
Yes,
So, in the photos of the existing and proposed pole lights, the existing showed 3 heads and
yes.
the proposed showed a single. Is that true?
In some cases, there will be some, I believe, that would have 2 using the same pole pointing.
So some might have 2 heads.
Correct.
Okay, so like P7 and P8, would those be single or dual head?
I would have to look at that a little more.
Okay, do you know what's there now?
It's P7. Is that over here?
Yeah.
It is. It's 2.
Is it 2?
Correct. Please, I could show you.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm just wondering, I mean, does it need to be a 2?
Again, and to respond to the folks here, if we would just use it when we would need it, and yeah, we could make it a single, certainly.
Well, I'm just, trying to be a more,
I mean-
particular about, what we're gonna do here.
It really should be based upon lighting the facility. So if it needs a 2, then it would be a 2. If a 1 would work, then certainly we put in 1. And then certainly it's not hard for us to switch from every 3rd. And then when we have an event, we can put them all on. When the event's over, we go back to every 3rd. So with that one off.
Understood. I mean, you're operating that way, at this time, but that doesn't mean that you're always gonna operate that way.
Oh, we'll continue to operate though.
Well, I mean, 10 years from now and you're retired, maybe somebody else might say, we're not gonna operate that way.
And someone else may buy the house that wants later, who knows, right? So I mean, there's a lot of what ifs,
That's
right?
right.
So,
I can't answer that question.
Right.
You're
I
right.
mean, but by having those light fixtures there is the potential for them all to be lit all the time.
There's the potential now from the all view.
Right. Right. But I mean, we're not gonna write a motion that says you can only light every other one. I mean, that's not gonna be written.
I would hope the person that replaces me, as long as I am here, and I would hope the person that replaces me, we do want to be good neighbors, and we want to have safe schools, and we want to balance that out. I can't speak to the future, but I could promise you, as long as I'm here, I would listen to any concerns of the public, and if it's an easy fix of turning the light off when we don't need it, we'll turn it off. We also want to save energy. So we don't need to light it. We try to turn it off. We have a gentleman whose specific job for the district is to maximize energy savings. So we're trying to turn everything off as much as possible. I call it being hazed, because his last name is Hayes, and about 4 o'clock when I'm in my office, I start shivering, it's because the heat's been turned off. It's because we are trying to save energy, too. So again, we're willing to work. I certainly can go back. It is very easy for the lighting folks to give me multiple, hey, do it at 20 feet, do it at 4,000 K, do it at 5,000 K, lower the wattage. And I could present that and say, bring it back in a month, and you guys could say, hey, you can do that. And we'd be happy to move forward. The lights are old, they are aging, they're starting to fail. We do need to get them replaced. They are starting to strobe, which is going to cause a much, it certainly is going to cause some complaints. But again, we are willing to work with our neighbors. At the same time, we do have to function as a school, and we have people coming in and out of the place that has to be lit.
Any other questions? That being said, I'm looking for a motion to table.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to table this request at next meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Member Jones?
Yeah.
Member Mayor?
Yes,
Member Sharp?
Yep.
Member Lappin?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Next item on the agenda is BZA 25011, Developmental Standards Variance. Peter Lamus from Family Dental Care request variance from section 0.66701B 5B, general sign provisions, and table 0.66701B, monument sign specific standards, dimension, area, and description to permit modifications to an existing monument sign located at 131 Ridge Road. Giorgio?
So the applicant was here last month, proposed this sign you see on the left. They proposed to maintain the existing structure and install a cabinet sign with 4 tenant spaces. This sign on the right is what you see is existing. At this request, that would trigger a couple of variances. The variances required for this sign include the use of a cabinet sign, also a monument sign not on a solid base, and square footage. So we are proposing an increase in the existing square footage and what's permitted by code by 3 additional square feet. This sign here is what communication has occurred at the last meeting. The BZA asked the applicant to consider reducing the number of variances requested. This is what is identified as a potential way of reducing the number of variances. One being a cap or a finish to the proposed sign, metal cap or finish, and then raising the brick to meet the base of the proposed sign. So that would come into compliance. Then the request would only be the variance request would be for a 3 square foot additional signage, and they identified as proportionally proportions of the existing structure.
Thank you, Sergio. Anyone have any questions for staff? No, that is a nice rendering, but I'd like to see how you're gonna actually match a 1970 brick with pollution, the same running color and all that kind of stuff. Would be a very, very hard task.
Mr. Chairman. It's not about that same thing. I don't think that we have anything that would preclude, although we would want to see it maintained, but painting that out to match the trim of the building or doing something that way with it at all is cohesive. It would save them money as far as having to buy home with brick. As long as you maintain that paint.
That's correct. So that's the reason we're it's like, so the building is dated, so we put some money into it and we're just upgrading. We're gonna change all the windows. Come spring when it's on a contract, and then we'll the tenants, we lost a couple of tenants. They want to more upgrade the building, and
Just before you get going, just name and
Alex Salinas. Thank you, guys.
address
My personal address,
for your, since this is your building.
131 Ridge Road. And so they just want to be seen was the previous building, previous sign, you really can't see anything. It's not lit or anything. So, and we're trying to get it within the framework of variant, without going too much of a variant. So we work with the city, and we've done that in the past, and that's what we're proposing.
Yes. Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Lemus, is that it?
Yes.
Thank you. So what is pictured here currently on the screen with the additional brick and the capping, the aluminum capping across the side, top? Is this what you're proposing
Yes.
for our consideration tonight?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
All of it's space underneath, but we go to the city and the city said that it would be better if we just put the brick. So we have like, he said there will be less very less variances to deal with. So it's acceptable to us and it still looks good and people will see our tenants there and our tenants will be happy to have a sign.
Does this, I'm sorry. Can I start your question?
Yes.
Does this does not meet the square footage, but it meets every, so we still need a variance for this or no?
We just need a variance for the square footage, for
That's
the
it.
sign, for everything else would be fine.
Okay. Because of the amount of lettering versus the brick. Or the overall square footage of
It's
the,
21 instead of 18.
okay,
It's 3 square feet bigger. But the sign, the actual cabinet sign are
No, the actual cabinet sign is proposed to be 21 square feet. Our sign code requires 18 square.
I'm sorry, not the size, but the actual type of sign.
Yes, it is metal face rotted panels, so that means complies with materials for sign.
Questions? Questions for the petitioner? I'll have you have a seat. Since this is a public hearing. I will open it up to the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone here tonight on behalf of the public that would like to come up here and speak regarding BZA 25011? Going once? Going twice? I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the BZA. Looking for thoughts, opinions, motions.
I'll make a motion if no one has thoughts, and opinions.
Did you say we're trying to match the brick or?
It's not of our concern, yeah. I mean, technically. But it's a good question.
You come back up. Mr. Lemus, I think Ms. Johns has a question.
One more
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
Can we rest assured, we really don't, can we rest assured that you will either effectively match that brick or you will, this is just an aesthetic question on my part,
Sure.
or that you will paint it in a tasteful manner to my personal liking. That would make it go well architecturally with the building and again, my personal preferences.
Yeah, for sure.
If you'd like to have me come out.
You will, it's our benefit to make it look the same as the building.
Any other questions for the petitioner? You're done? Okay, so.
Thank you, Mr.
Once again, looking for whatever you like, Ms. Johns.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve BZA 25-011. And this is just on the square footage, a developmental standards variance to request for a 21 square foot double-sided sign face internally illuminated with the condition that the monument sign compliant with all zoning codes except for the square footage requirement. Do I need to articulate that since we already said the 21?
That's your, because that's your motion is to allow it at the 21, so you
So I don't
make the
need to say
exception.
it.
Yep.
Okay. Including all discussion and findings. All right, Denise.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Member Jones,
Yes.
member Mayor,
Yes.
member Sharp,
Yes.
and member Randall.
Yes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, finds the facts. We have BZA 25007, it's development of standard variance to O'Brien Legacy Signs, received approval for variances from table 266701B wall sign specific standards, dimensions, additional standards to increase the permitted height, obscure an architectural element for proposed new auditorium entrance sign at Munster High School located at 8803 Calumet Avenue. Has everyone had a chance to review these findings and facts? If so, looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve, this finding of fact as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Member Johns,
Yes.
member Mayor,
Yes.
member Sharp,
Yes.
member Rabbit.
Yes. Next item, BZA 25008, developmental standard variance, Jim Black on behalf of the school town of Munster received approval for variance for table 266405B civic zone standards, lighting, screening, private landscaping, fencing to increase the permitted height and standards for proposed tennis courts located at 8839 Calumet Avenue. Same thing. Chance to review it. If so, what's the pleasure of the BZA? Looking for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve this finding of fact as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Sergio, please call roll.
Member Johns,
Yes.
member Mayor,
Yes.
member Sharp,
Yes.
member Rabbit.
Yes. I see no other continued discussion items. No other business. Next regular meeting is January 13th, 2025. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone, for your time.
And let's stand for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with peace and justice. Those are nice to see you. Call roll, please.
Commissioner Brannigan,
Here.
Councilor Hopple,
Here.
Commissioner Johns,
Here.
Councilor Nellens,
Here.
Commissioner Rabbit,
Here.
Councilor Schenkin,
Here.
and Commissioner Baker.
Here, we have a quorum, let's roll. All right, we have the approval of minutes, but we don't have an updated set of minutes to review and or approve. Ms. Bennett, is there some Robert's rule or whatnot, or do I skip over this thing?
Just, it's not, an item that you have to take any action on one way or the other. It'll be on next month's meeting.
All right, that was kind of disappointing because we had a heavy lift last week, as last month's meeting, so a lot of what was discussed was to be built upon today. But let's see what happens. All right, we have no preliminary hearings. First up is the public hearing. 25-015, a subdivision preliminary plat. This is for Matt Kimball at Centennial Village, who requests a review of the preliminary plat for proposed 4-lot subdivision, to replat a lot C to create lots 10, 11, 12, 13 of Centennial Village re-subdivision located at 9505 Calumet Avenue. This is a continued public hearing, so Ms. Bennett, am I opening it up as a public hearing, or are we going through the normal course of introducing a petition?
Normal course of introducing the petition so that if there is any new evidence that the public has an opportunity to weigh in on that at the point of the reopening of public hearing.
All right, Mr. Mendoza, you're up.
So the request here is for a re-subdivision of lot C. They're proposing 4 lots for 4 additional uses. At the last meeting, the planning commission received information regarding the roundabout, because at the previous meeting, the request was by the commissioners to determine whether this was going to be a roundabout or four-way intersection. They came back and said we're doing a roundabout, submitted updated documents. And then at the last month's planning commission meeting, they said, well, we kind of want both a 4-way intersection and a roundabout approved. And the commission said that's not going to happen. You need to make a decision. And so they came back and got notification in November, November 25th, that they will be proceeding with a a four-way intersection or four-lot subdivision. That is what's being proposed, before you this evening. Also, since that time, we did receive a study, a review from our engineers regarding the traffic study.
The town's engineer?
The town engineers, yes. So there was a letter, I think a 2 or 3 page letter review submitted for that, outlining the impact, based on the calculations from that traffic study. The results essentially were neither were much better, whether a roundabout or a trap or a four-lane intersection. Both required additional improvements at some point along the roadway corridors. But the court for SEH said the roundabout would be slightly better managing traffic circulation and impacts.
So outside of doing this as a subdivision, taking from 1 lot to 4 lots, we're also looking at it as it relates to 45th Street, whether to put an intersection in or a roundabout? Is that a
No.
planning commission thing? No.
This is the request for a 4-lot subdivision. And the subdivision, whether it's an intersection or 4-lot, or I'm sorry, a 4-way intersection or roundabout would impact the size of the lots.
Okay, yes. So, but is it this particular petition that the intersection or roundabout is determined?
Yes,
Yes, so the planning commission is making the decision as it relates to whether it's an intersection or a roundabout.
correct.
And is there a recommendation from staff and or our engineer from the perspective of this and what we would like to see there as opposed to putting it on this particular group?
The recommendation from staff based on review of the traffic study and review of the engineer's review report, our engineer's review of their traffic study is to move forward with a roundabout.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Mendoza and staff before we let the petitioner speak?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Sergio, studying the roundabout, have we looked at how that affects the intersection with Calumet and 45th Street? And the only reason I say that is, you know, coming home several nights heading south, I see the stacking that happens at the light and heading west on 45th Street to go south on Calumet Avenue. I don't know, with doing a roundabout there and everyone coming there and coming to a dead stop, you're gonna have traffic at a dead stop at a roundabout, just like a stoplight. Is there any talks about how the developer improves 45th and Calumet Avenue to make it better at the intersection?
The report does outline that the town would or should take initiatives, whether it's through signalization or additional, the report itself does mention, the traffic study report does mention that additional improvements should occur as part of any improvement to that intersection, whether it's a 4-way or a roundabout. It is noted that traffic will continue to get worse at full build out, and it's actually double full build out for proposed 4 uses, and including the south part of the development itself. And so the traffic report does mention that something needs to be done in conjunction as part of this proposal.
And reading that letter from SEH, I mean, how much consideration is given to the development that's happening south of Main Street in Dyer and the fact that everybody down there is going to get to the expressway on Calumet Avenue? Is that taken into consideration from the way this process is evolving?
The traffic study report does not include, I believe it does not include additional traffic volumes and patterns outside of this or within their scope of work. So, but the engineers are the traffic engineers here to possibly address some of those, and probably better suited to interpret the traffic study itself. I have a very low level of traffic study reviews. It's very much above my pay grade, but I have enough information to kind of piece things together and understand possibly what you have in your staff report.
But a high level is sitting in traffic.
Absolutely, and it says that it would get worse, and some roundabout, and I think the difference is maybe they can address this, but it sounds like maybe the difference between a roundabout and 4-way intersection is probably 16 seconds at full build out.
You know, and we're all for having investment in the community. I'm a big fan, but it's also making sure that we do it in such a way that it's managed for not only today and this development, but the future, the next group of stewards that come after us to make sure that this isn't creating more of a problem like we see in some of the other areas of the region. This is it. I mean, this is gonna be Main Street in Indianapolis Boulevard. I mean, that's a real fun place. So this is a concern. All right, any other questions for staff?
What are you saying about the 16 seconds? The 16 seconds, the like per car, or is
I would defer that to the engineers on that interpretation.
Is he here?
Yes,
Okay.
there you go. So,
This,
my
the
understanding.
town's engineer, not the petitioner's engineer. I know what he's gonna say.
Yeah. The town's engineer is not gonna. Typically, they submit a review of the study.
Okay, anybody else? Petitioner, yes, sir, young man. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Russ Posen, DVG, 1155 Troutline Road, Crown Point, Indiana. We are the engineers, and I do have my traffic engineer here, which will speak upon this. Yes, we are talking about a plat to convert this to 4 lots. And yes, we are specifically requesting that it just be the traffic signal, which is the plat before you for the 4 lots. Obviously, the original PUD does have a traffic signal as a part of its requirements. Some of the things I'll touch on before I'll get my expert here. Obviously, we did have a conversation, our traffic engineer, the town, and myself, with the town's traffic engineer to kind of coordinate some things recently. So I think we're all on the same page in that. And my engineer can express that. It's probably some of the things that I think are very real to this development. And the reason why we are wanting to proceed with just a traffic signal is a roundabout is very lengthy construction, very lengthy, especially for one as complex as this, 1.5 plus construction. So that is a big issue for the traveling public right now, because North Centennial Drive and 45th to build that roundabout, essentially that area is going to be shut down for that entire construction period. That puts a lot of stress north on Calumet and that 45th intersection, to the public. That's, that'll make conditions even worse, even for a long, long time. That's not something that we, want to see in the town right now. I mean, this development here currently, there's curb cuts right now. There's, the drive lanes are ready and set up for a traffic signal. The ordering traffic signals does take a little time, but it's a lot quicker than obviously the full build out of a roundabout. And actually the developer can speak a little bit more if warranted, but we're under real time frame issues with some of these developments that are coming, specifically the Strouds and the Chase that are, later on in this presentation, but they won't wait around for the construction of a roundabout. That's just a fact. So for clarification purposes, I do want our traffic engineer to come up. He'll introduce himself. He'll kind of get into some of the details and hopefully answer some of the questions that you have already, or obviously if there's more questions that get generated, go from there.
Good evening. My name is James Huss, also with DVG. I have a 15+ year background in transportation engineering, both at DVG and my prior employer. We've had some conversations over the last couple of days since the review letter from SEH came out, and the core tenant. Let me back up for a minute. Now, I also do have intimate knowledge of this area. I was a Munster resident for the better part of my life up until 3 years ago. I've seen the town grow, so I can tell you the amount of times that I've driven through the Calumet and 45th Avenue corridors, both before and after the substantial improvements and investments that the town of Munster has made over the past 5 to 6 years. The study was developed over the past year, and it conceptualized originally, which was part of the PUD, a 70,000 square foot grocery store. And at the time, what was known that Chase Bank was interested in property, which is approximately 2,400 square feet. Since obviously you now have a 4-lot plat in front of you, which is different but similar. So just so you know, we're still semi comparing apples to apples. The most sensitive time at this intersection is the PM peak hour. The plan before you this evening represents a 19% increase in traffic in the AM, but it represents a 20% traffic, 20% less traffic in the PM. Those are updates that we'll make to the report if we're asked to, but I do want you to know that the findings of the report are actually based on a higher traffic level than what is being proposed in the plat in the evening this evening. We all know the area. We know the investments the town has made. The challenge of providing recommendations and improvements at this intersection is that a traffic engineer, any engineer for that matter, they have a toolbox. But in the case of this specific area, there are very limited tools left. We have a communications hub building in the southwest corner of the intersection, preventing adding lanes. I can tell you add lanes for the day, but quite simply, we don't have room for it. That's just a fact of life, as it is the case in so many communities. Jump on one of the points the commissioner already had, asking about the growth in Dyer. Are we forecasting that? It's very difficult to accurately depict that, but what we do when we develop traffic studies is we do always incorporate some level of network growth. We apply a growth rate because we know development never stops. In the case of this study, there was a 5% growth rate in overall traffic kind of baked into the cake.
For the 200 acres that are vacant in Dyer, you got a 5% growth rate.
I would argue that it's 5% on top of you. Well, I would simply state that it is 5% growth rate of what is already 30,000 cars a day on Calumet Avenue. So while it sounds like 5% is not a lot of traffic, 5% of 30,000 is actually a quite substantial growth rate when it comes to a traffic impact study.
Including the train.
The trains?
There's a train going there too.
Incorrect, there is. If there's a different growth rate that SEH prefers we use, we will certainly do that, but I'm simply saying that there was network growth rate applied to the study. We cannot skip past that because applying the growth rate is a very standard practice when you develop a traffic impact study.
Yeah. But you're making no recommendations for improvements to the intersection. You're telling me the traffic's going up and up and up, and there's going to be more of it, but there's no room to do anything, so it is what it is? Is that the cut to the chase?
I think that's a very blunt way to put it, but if there was room to add lanes or substantially improve the intersection, that might have been a tool that we've recommended. But with so many property constraints separate from this development on the west and the north and the south, that's not a card I have to play in terms of recommendation.
We are recommending timing.
So getting back to the improvements at North Centennial Drive and 45th Avenue. I am not here to tell you that a traffic signal will be substantially better than a roundabout. But I think in my conversation with Josh is that the one thing we both agree on, that neither one of them represents a substantial improvement over the other. Russ just spoke to the timelines and construction impacts that favor the use of a traffic signal, but I'm not here to tell you that it's 50% better. It's not. It's a unique area that we don't have a lot of tools to greatly improve it. The core differences between my preference for a traffic signal and Josh/SEH's preference for a roundabout is his primary concern was ensuring that eastbound traffic doesn't back up into the 45th and Calumet Avenue, which is a valid concern. My primary concern was ensuring that traffic sitting at the red light going westbound doesn't back up into a roundabout when they're sitting on a red light. Because the one difference between the traffic signal and a roundabout is eventually when you get to a traffic signal and there's a queue of cars in front of you, and eventually a car they'll stop going into the intersection. Whereas if this traffic starts backing up into a roundabout, the roundabout ceases to function. And that's why when you design roundabouts, you don't put them in places where their capacity exceeds, where their volumes exceed 85% of their capacity. Not saying I'm right over his, but the reason for the separate recommendations is we're just both prioritizing different concerns, both of which are valid.
Part of the improvements is to simplify.
Yeah, and then the Sergio touched on before, and I'll elaborate on. Calumet Avenue is almost certainly an interconnected corridor where the signals work together. If a traffic signal were to be placed at 45th and North Centennial Drive, that would have to be synchronized with the system so that when say southbound left turns are making their turns or eastbound through movements, is that we give as much deference so that the green time eastbound at that new traffic signal allows those vehicles to continue through. So there will be more work to do to ensure that the timing plan optimizes the totality of the area. I do want to skip back to one other specific point, but just a clarification in the staff report. They do not mean to state that Sergio was incorrect at all. The numbers he listed in the staff report on page 9 are very much correct. When you model traffic when you model intersections, control delay is the average delay that any single vehicle on average has to wait to go through the intersection. There are two methods that I have in my toolbox, and one is I'm sorry for boring you to death. One is the highway capacity manual, and one is a visual simulation of how the cars move through the intersection. When you use the highway capacity manual, it looks at every intersection individually with no consideration for the traffic moving 500,000 feet to the left, north, south, east, or west of it. So there's no denying that if North Centennial Drive and 45th Avenue was a roundabout, and it was in the middle of a cornfield, and we threw a certain amount of cars at it, that a roundabout would operate better. And that's what that number says, is that there's a 16.6 second control delay if a roundabout existed in cornfield. And if it was a traffic signal, there would be 31 seconds of control delay. But as we all know, that North Centennial Drive and 45th is by no means in the middle. It's that when we model the visual simulation, that's when we start to see the conditions that we all know exist today, as far as queues stretching back as far as they can. And when that simulation happens, that's when the performance of whether it's a traffic signal or whether it's a roundabout become much, much closer together and present the challenges that I identified that SEH's engineer identified. So the core, and I'm happy to field any questions that you have after this. I know I'm throwing a lot at you. The core, I'll just stress again, I'm not here to say I'm right, SEH is wrong. Just the differential is both prioritizing different concerns.
So I appreciate your presentation. It's good information there. The thing that couple questions is that with this property changing from a 1 lot to a 4 lot is obviously going to change the moving parts in and out. Are those 4 lanes going to be able to sustain that much more volume?
Especially with 2 spec buildings and we don't know what kind of tenants they're gonna be.
And then the second thing I wanted to touch on was that, a lot of times, like you look at one thing and you're kind of not looking at other things sometimes. I'm not saying that's happening, but, Calumet Avenue already struggles a lot because in my opinion, that turn lane that goes north at Calumet and 45th should have been extended past, and I can't even imagine what it's going to look like when that increase in commerce and stuff in Dyer starts coming towards us and wants to turn onto 45th. It's already a disaster. If there's a train, that was supposed to expedite people through, and it's not doing that because if you're not in the right position, you're screwed. You're gonna stay and wait for the train. So that issue, and then also too, I think I saw there was an idea of a right in, right out off of Calumet Avenue coming into the property that would also require another lane to kind of decelerate. I think I read to turn in or turn out. I mean, how's that gonna work with what's there?
If I could speak to your second point first, there was a recommendation in the letter for a right turn lane. I have no doubt that the Indiana and every DOT has volumetric thresholds for how many right turns versus how many other cars are in the lane. On when a right turn lane is warranted. It's different for a one lane road, it's different from a two lane road. I will certainly state that the amount of right turns at that location will likely exceed what would be otherwise warranted for a right turn lane. But what I would also say is that there are truly a dozen other points in the Calumet Avenue corridor between, let's say, Treadway and essentially the expressway that also meet or exceed that warrant. And for better or worse, the cake has been baked in Munster in that we have chosen to not provide, whether it's because of right-of-way constraints or other reasons, to not provide right turn lanes.
Those are our past, though, right?
More or less. I mean, there's no sense in beating around the bush. And as I said, I'm very familiar with the area. I think I'm 100% right that is a stretch where there's not a single right southbound, northbound right turn lane in that corridor. For instance, we don't even have a right turn lane at Ridge. At Ridge, we don't have one at 45th and Calumet. Again, for better or worse. So I'm not arguing that it wouldn't be warranted on volumes, but there is a deference given for consistency of a corridor. And that would be my contention as to why to not. I'm not arguing that it's not warranted at all. But it would be inconsistent with the Calumet Avenue corridor. With regards to
what would it make it better?
Marginally at best. I mean, you could ask the same question. We could add turn lanes up and down the corridor.
No, but that intersection was a part of this development. That intersection at 45th and Calumet was a part of this development. That's why there was a partnership between the town and the developer. Part of that was to work on that intersection. Right or wrong, how it worked is beautiful intersection. It just doesn't help move the traffic maybe the way all of the studies and theories anticipated it to do.
I can't disagree with you.
No, I know, because that's part of the development, and that's why it's a little bit more of a different animal than Calumet and Ridge. That's been there since the 30s, since whenever. I mean, that's, it is what it is. But this is the opportunity not to create another one of those down further south. That's the only reason it's becoming a more and more of an issue. Not to mention the fact that the 45th aspect of that right in, right out, that's a challenge because we continue to talk about Calumet Avenue across the board of having reduced curb cuts. And we're adding one, and I'm not sure yet, because I had the same conversation when y'all came before when we were doing the first part of this about the curb cut there. And that's causing a lot of challenges. Or does that mean we should do it again just because it was on the original plan? My answer is no, because this isn't the original plan. It keeps changing all the time. Just my point.
Point made. The only thing I would add to that is that right turn lane or no right turn lane. The lack of a restricted access driveway on Calumet north of 45th would leave this quadrant only one place to enter, which would then exacerbate the congestion at North Centennial and 45th, because that would be the lot's only access.
And I don't know about site plan review, Sergio. What did the fire department say about having only the possibility of one point of ingress and egress? I'm sure the truck coming in from the north isn't going to be able to go over that curb to get in there. He's going to the intersection. Did they have any concerns from the standpoint of having only one or having two, or how many points of ingress and egress?
If I recall correctly, the fire department indicated there are 2 points of access to the development are preferred.
And that is what we have, and the right in, right out at Calumet does allow for a fire truck to get in and out.
Jump in the curb.
Yeah.
We do not jump the curb on our development.
No, but there's a.
It's going to come from the south though, isn't it?
They would have to come from the intersection of Calumet and 45th. And if they're going to get on that right in, right out at Calumet, they would have to go to the light and get north.
But I didn't see anything about a decel lane on Calumet Avenue going into that right turn, right in, right out.
No, that's not a part of this, or wasn't a part of the original.
Well, my understanding is that that is a part of this. So if we approve it, it is how it is. And if it's not there and not approved, it won't go in. So what happens when the guy behind me is going 45 and I'm slowing down to go to the bank? Thank you. All right, any other questions for the petitioner?
Well,
Yes, ma'am.
I think you explained the roundabout situation very well, because I was at first like all for the roundabouts, just given I spent a lot of time in Fishers and Indianapolis. I mean, there are roundabouts everywhere down there and it works very well. I mean, traffic just goes. But I understand what you're saying about having, you know, the traffic light, if you're westbound, that could fog up the roundabout and at the light. So I understand that. I was kind of looking forward to having a roundabout, and, you know, maybe it's like the start of some, you know, more. But I don't, maybe this isn't the right place for it, you know, I'm curious to see what the other thoughts are about the roundabout versus, I don't know, that's just my thought. I went into this thinking the roundabout, but I'm thinking that maybe also, I would like to understand though, why it takes so much more time to build a roundabout.
There's essentially, when you construct a roundabout, there is maintenance of traffic, MOT is the engineering term. It's, when you think about a traffic signal, all we might be doing when we want to convert intersections, we might be doing some widening around the corners to make turns better. And essentially, we're plunking poles down. We have conduit we can push underneath the pavement as it sits there. But it's connecting electricity, putting poles, maybe closing down a lane so we can span wires and hang signal heads. And then energize it, and you're kind of there, maybe some stripe. The roundabout, we have a straight road. We're in a big old circle in it.
Yeah.
We have concrete that needs to be poured. We have asphalt that needs to be laid. Concrete needs to be cured. We have to close, we essentially have to tear up and close down a 5-lane section roadway. And that does not happen in a month. Just kind of the way it is.
It was very unpopular this summer with the bridge that was closed on 45th. Caused a lot of disruption, but I mean, if it was for the better, you know, in the long run, but I don't know that that's what I'm hearing.
Sergio, did SEH say anything with regards to the construction timeline of the roundabout versus doing a signalized intersection?
No, they listed pros and cons, but I don't recall that there was actually a reference to that, other than, the cost and.
I mean, a confirmation of the timeline would be something else. I mean, how long was the bridge out? I mean, that was what, just for the summer, 3 months? I mean, you're talking about a year. Yeah, you're talking about a year closing this down. Now that's gonna have a huge impact on the development of businesses in there as well. But, you know.
I'm just gonna make a comment, Dave Nellens. I personally like more weight for signal. I'm not a fan of roundabouts. I do have a question on the roundabout. Are we talking a 2-lane, 3-lane? 2 lanes, plus you're gonna have peel offs coming here to the turn rights and all that.
No, there wouldn't be any, the terminology is escaping me, but no, it would essentially be it must be a 2-lane roundabout.
Minimum.
That is well, 2 lanes, and likely that the more of a traditional 2-lane roundabout, and that the left lane of as you enter will go through or left, and then the right lane will be an option to go through or right. But no, I wish the term, there will be no runarounds like where if you're going right, you're going, those are,
Now, in the thoughts of the construction, are you talking about closing that entire intersection to do the roundabout, or are you trying to maintain traffic and do the roundabout?
we're getting, we're not quite there yet, obviously. That work still needs to be done. I can't speak to what if any would whatever attempts to, maybe we try to keep a lane open. I don't know. There's pros and cons to that, given whether it's actually just more safer to detour it. So I can't give you a firm answer on that. Obviously, efforts will be made to investigate whether that's a possibility, but even if traffic is maintained, I firmly believe that the construction impacts that come with just installing a traffic signal would be substantially less.
Yes, I would agree with that. I don't know that I agree with the roundabout being a year, but on the other hand, it might be safer just to shut the traffic down, but I know that's a nightmare and we've lived through that already. That's just my opinion. I'd rather have signalized intersection than a roundabout.
Okay, anything else on the traffic? And have you thought about anything outside the box? I mean, obviously, if this development layout changed a bit, per se, Chase Bank had to go away, it just didn't work out with traffic and everything by adding something on that corner. That the lanes got wider there, shifted to the north where you can have a right dedicated turn lane to head north on Calvin Avenue, and you reposition the other office building that's closer to Sprouts, and that easement with that right in, right out of Calumet Avenue became a deceleration lane. Have you thought about any other proposed layout of this property that would make traffic flow better on this? Where you might have to lose some square footage, yet town has adequate traffic flow in it, that we're not handcuffed at this intersection?
I don't mean to say that we didn't think about it, but as we touched on, this area and the improvements to 45th have happened essentially my entire working career. Seen it happen little by little. There are constraints in place. I mean, if I can tell you, I could move a lane or add a lane, that probably would have been in the recommendations, but we know
I'm sure the recommendation came from their layout and what they want to sell the product, right?
Unfortunately, I can't make a recommendation that you should add a lane and buy 2 buildings that are less than 5 years old.
Has our engineer looked at layout of this property, Sergio, in regards to traffic and the density that we're putting on here?
The request was for our town engineers to review the traffic study. Our engineers to be engaged in other regional or town-wide traffic studies and road improvements. But that's different.
But not the plats or the proposed.
Correct. That's just,
Did the staff see anything other than what we're looking at as far as possible layouts for this particular site for 4 lots?
this is what the staff has received from the site review through today.
I mean, I'm talking about going back to when this first started. Did the petitioner provide any other options as far as the layout for, subdividing this parcel other than what we're looking at?
No, this is what's being proposed in the 4 lots, what the staff has been working.
Because we're putting a lot more, you're doing exactly what developers do, is put as much square footage as you possibly can on the site, which is great, but this is now a parking field with as much square footage as you could possibly get. So we're looking at a little bit different from how we had to listen at the first part when this development came to the Plan Commission, where it was all about walkability and that type of a situation. Nobody's going to walk from wherever it is on this site to go eat at Harvest. Just not. Just like when I was in Valpo, I had the responsibility for the gym at the Valpo Y. I watched people drive around the parking lot to park close to the front door to go exercise. I mean, that's just the region mentality. So I'm kind of curious, and we only have one option to look at how to subdivide this to maximize revenue and a return on investment for the developer while still meeting some of the concerns of the municipality. There's got to be a win-win here. And with only one look, it's challenging. Anything else?
The only
Bill, with one comment, Ms. Nail.
Sure.
Square footage.
Could you state your name, please, sir, and your address, because this is official public business.
Matt Kibble, 631 Carney Drive, Diamond. The square footage that we're proposing here, and there was multiple site plans that we had considered with DVG and other types of uses. The square footage we're proposing on the buildings that go on these 4 parcels is less than, we're de-densifying. We're taking a less return because the buildings are less than it was originally planned.
I understand, but you know, one line is a little less expensive than 4 lines, Benny. I mean, you're building 4 structures versus 1 structure.
That's correct, but the square footage is less. Right, so if you, just based on square footage, we're building less square footage. And one's a multi-story building, taking less of a footprint, again, giving us more parking. And we've had multiple conversations with prior amendments to this PUD.
Thank you.
What's the approximate difference?
Yes, that's.
Was it a 70,000 square foot
Yeah.
initially? So 70,000 versus what do we have here in totality?
Well, we have a 2 or 3 story building, so that's gonna,
Says 14. Well, somebody do the math.
Mr. Kittle, do you know what the difference is, the reduction in density or square footage?
I think the best I can recall, we're about 65,000 total square feet compared to the 70,000.
I'm not well particularly versed in this thing. I would like to look to the future to see, again, what the impact is over time. There are no, as we said, there are no speculations or guarantees of what would go into the additional 2 spots, or even, you know, what these would be used for, you know, who knows, you know, over the course of time. So just trying to create the infrastructure that we need in an area that's already, as you said, Mr. Isaac, we don't have a lot of tools left in our tool belt. So how do we put the buildings and the roads, you know, all of those things together in the best possible way to yield the best possible future, so that people don't want to split their wrists rather than come here.
Yeah, just to clarify, the intended use for the building that's north of Chase is going to be a medical clinic, right, open during typical business hours. And the 3-story office building, 2 or 3-story office building would be a medical office. Those are the intended users for the 2 buildings. Not retail, so the use of, you know, visits and so forth is less.
so part of medical is great, because medical can be really easy in and out. Medical can be standing there for 2 hours while I rehab my hip, like we saw with the last group that wanted the huge parking lot. Or trying to go to Rosebud, well, right after work when rehab is packed full. So, you know, parking is a concern where it is. Obviously, we're over parked here, but that's kind of where I'm seeing an imbalance. All right, any other questions for the petitioner? All right, bring it back to the commission. A lot of stuff, what do you want to do?
Did we table this last time? Well, I don't have the minutes.
I don't have minutes either, so who knows? I think we continued the public hearing,
Action was deferred.
deferred.
I voted 7-0 at last month's meeting to defer to today. Public hearing was left over.
So please let me know so I don't go to planning commission jail for not reopening public expression. Anyway, you brought up that.
Well,
for a
I'm
reason.
just curious, we don't want to delay positive things happening in our town, but also I'm trying to understand the reason for staff recommending that we table. What else are you waiting for, Sergio? And I know it's stated.
I think the request to table was based on the impacts to the road system you have. Within your report, it does identify, and I think, and maybe the traffic engineer can speak to this, but the traffic report itself, one of the things you mentioned, Commissioner Brannigan, was which I highlighted, which I thought was interesting, is that you said you don't want westbound with a traffic light backing up. But within the traffic report itself, and they talk about visual simulation. It says visual simulation of the intersection performance conform with the acute spillover will consistently occur for the westbound left turn lane, Calumet Avenue, back to the North Centennial Drive intersection, including some westbound traffic from proceeding through the North Centennial Drive intersection. So the traffic report itself is addressing through the signal what your concern is. I think that there needs to be more thorough review of this, and there are other components that are missing. Whether the traffic study, what would the traffic look like with just as originally proposed in PUD, one building, one lot? Does that change the overall review of that? You have before you a traffic study for 4 uses, 4 lots, intersection, indicating that full build out, you will double your traffic volume. Are there other plans in place to alleviate this traffic? I think while we support development itself, at what cost?
That's a good question. Was there a traffic study done with the original plat? So when it was originally platted for one building and the light was all approved within the PUD, was there a traffic study that at that time? Well, I mean, things have changed so much, right? I mean, 45th Street, right?
Not to my knowledge.
I just wonder how that,
Yeah, I don't think there was a 2013. I don't think there was a traffic study done to come up with that.
understood.
Very good question. But I think to answer Ms. Brannigan's question about why the deferral, and the way I would answer that is a little bit different, is that I think the memo that came from SEH came out, what was it, Sergio, the last 400 business days. And I think Sergio thought that we need some time to have that discussion with our traffic engineer, their traffic engineer. We did that today with Jim coordinating the call. We had that discussion. So Jim and myself thought it would be good to move forward, to have the meeting instead of deferring. So I think that was part of the reason why I think when we wrote that memo, why we're suggesting.
The reason for the deferral is Mr. Kimmel indicated is that the change in the proposed intersection roundabout back to a 4-way intersection, which is supported in the PUD, conflicts based on what the traffic engineering review is. There's not much of a change. It essentially says this is what you're going to get. But again, a slight separation in seconds, but it does merit some discussion at the town level, how to address some of these other, as recommended in the staff report or staff traffic study, that other matters need to look at as well to help alleviate this, regardless of whether it's a roundabout or a 4-way intersection. The request is for 4 lots, 4 additional uses. There may be a reduction in the overall square footage, but you're also changing your uses. Your uses based on ITE will generate the number of traffic volumes that you anticipate based on that. One grocery store, how many times do you visit that? A bank, if it was 4 banks, you're less likely to see traffic volume increase given the online banking. Same thing could probably be said for grocery store. We'll probably order online and get delivered, There's so many variables on this, but the fact is that while there's a reduction in square footage, there's a change in lot numbers as well as uses.
If I can add that.
Hold on a second. Are you okay before I let him speak again? All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Obviously, this is not to replace an updated traffic report, but I do want to make it clear that the PM peak hour, which is the most critical hour, the plat before you is 20% less traffic than the numbers that were used in the study with SEH review. That's not to say that everything will be rosy, but the traffic before you is not more than what was in the study.
How could it be 20% less at peak time? Is it just for this piece of dirt we're looking at here, or is it in the entire development, the entire PUD?
No, we're talking about just this corner.
Okay, which is a real challenge for me because I'm all about what happens before, what happens after. I'm more holistic than the snapshot.
Sure. So the reason for that, and I don't come up with the numbers. I have a very thick manual that
you have a book for that.
I have a book for that. Yes, indeed. that the Institute of Transportation Engineers, they get a whole bunch of interns and pay them $5 an hour all summer, and they sit outside sites and count how many cars come in. The original values that were used in the PUD, that were in the study, assumed a 70,000 square foot grocery store and 2,400 square foot driving bank. And that came out to the numbers that were in the study that are mentioned in the staff report. When you look at a smaller grocer, and every land use generates traffic differently. It has a higher or lower peak hour. That's where the book comes in handy. Is you look at the use, you look at the square footage, and it tells you how much traffic in and out, proportionate. It's different proportions in the morning, different proportions in the evening, and then you know what's coming into a property. You add them all up, and that's what you assume. What faith you put in that is up to everybody's individually, but I am simply saying that by the book, the PM peak hour of this 4-lot plan is about 20% less than if it was just a bank and just a much larger grocery.
Okay,
Please.
you're basing that upon medical uses?
I will run it again. I use general office for the numbers that when I mentioned the 20%. Medical, I will be the first to, medical is slightly higher than general office because it has more churn of patients coming in.
But during daytime hours. And that's what Mr. Kimmel was saying, was that this would be heightened during daytime and not at night. However, in your PUD plan, you're proposing in the A2, whichever lot that would, so you've got the bank and then the grocery store. A2 retail is a 1-story. A3 is an office, which includes business, medical, professional, and personal services. And there's a lengthy list of A through double F of all things that would fit into both of those categories. That obviously provides potentially for traffic far different than a doctor's office. Are you contemplating that this is a nail salon or a bakery or a, pet supply place?
It pays the rent.
A tailor shop, I mean, places that, have people in and out. Department store is one of the options here. And this is in the PUD plan, the standards, revised standards that have been proposed as part of a later petition. I'm just trying to reconcile how that fits with what you're saying here about now this is going to be entirely medical, but that's not what the PUD plan says.
The PUD plan has, many alternative uses that it could be put to, but I'll tell you that.
But you're proposing the building A2 would be retail and A3 would be office, which includes business, medical, professional, and personal services.
Well, retail is the branch, Chase.
Nope, bank is A1. I'm looking right on your,
Just looking north, should you look north of Chase, to the north of Chase?
nope, yeah, I'm looking at your Centennial Village Design Standards revised, page 9. You're proposing building lot A would be, and they don't match numbers obviously, but I'm reading from your plan and this is about revised. A would be the grocery, A1 would be the bank, A2 would be retail, single story, A3 would be office, 2 to 3, 2-story or 3-story. Just want to clarify that because that's a negative.
Well, let me clarify. So I have a signed LOI for the building north of Chase. That's a medical clinic. That's what I'm doing.
It's A2, only A2.
That's
The pink, reddish color.
That is A2 correct.
A2,
And the purple is also intended, as it stands today, I don't have anything that concluded, but it's not, it can't really be a retail property because it's too far from. It's into the medical.
you understand it's not what your documents say that we proposed.
And the market has it where grocery stores, especially small ones like Sprouts, could be in line as well. So they're around the country in line in numerous locations. They're not all standalone.
That's correct.
So one of the things about retail, as you know, is they like to be next to grocery stores because of foot traffic generated by the grocery store. So, oh, look what's over here. After I get my bread and milk, I'm going to stop and do ABC. So.
And I just want to clarify those things because what you're contracting or who you're talking to for interest is not what the PUD, what your proposed PUD standards would allow. That I don't want us to get tunnel vision. I don't know if this is only medical unless you're going to amend your PUD and put these standards out to only limit to specific medical uses, hours,
Yeah,
numbers,
so
et
someone's
cetera,
gonna
that's
be-
going to narrow this. I don't know if that changes what their thoughts are, but I'm just saying, I just want to represent what your documents are. Was that something that you'd be amending then?
Yes, I think to make it consistent, we should actually change A2 to reflect on what the use is going to be, which is
Well, and I'm referring to it as restricting it to that
restricted to that.
in the PUD design standards. Right now, this is open-ended as the proposed building use, which is, like I said, retail and office. Which, as I said, when you're looking at the list of all things that could fit into that, that really doesn't fit into what your engineer is saying here about traffic for medical. So I just want to make sure that the
Yeah, so.
Thank you, Christian, for considering
I hope
appropriate.
with that change and make that commitment, you just understand that initially when we got started on this, it was not necessarily going to be in the clinic. The clinic has, we've been at this for 9 months, so I think
This was revised October 20th.
we started.
I understand. I'm just looking at what is the consideration for today.
But I signed the LOI.
Roland and I, Mr. Kimmel, are probably, the second in dealing with this after you with regards to how many times we've been talking about this. So the entire development has been an ongoing thing since 2014 for us, probably a little longer for you, but almost 11 years, 12 years now for me. It's a long time. And it's great is what's going on there now. Obviously, we'd like to see more things happen there as well. We're going into the dirt before we're finishing anything over on the first side of that too. That's why I asked last month with regards to PUD and what's going to happen there. We keep opening up the stuff to build stuff closer to the street to be able to generate more dollars, which I understand, but there's also commitments were made as it relates to what was happening at the other part of the PUD. And while we open these things up to amendments and change the standards and talk about all this stuff, that has impact on what's already been in place and operating as successful businesses in the community. We want to make sure that those things continue to be successful and also have places to park for them as well, and places to live and go utilize the lake and all those things that nobody seems to be talking about for the last 4 or 5 years. So we saw the hotel. I don't know what happened with that. We saw the, first building go up for residential. I haven't seen 2, 3, or 4 or anything in the market talking about that going up again. So one of the original problems that I'm starting to have is that the residential was a huge part of this whole development and nobody's talking about it. My point.
Back to the use in medical. That changes your calculations on traffic if these 2 other buildings are medical office buildings. Do you have that data presented tonight?
Every time anybody, not just myself, does a traffic study, they're typically done not so far down the road. There's always assumptions made in that. Oftentimes we have a lot configuration, but we don't have a specific tenant. So there's always assumptions made by myself or any traffic engineer. So the numbers that we were talking about, the reduction, they assume generic retail, office, a bank with a drive-in, and grocer. Any update would of course reflect a medical office of some kind, which is slightly different than a general office, let's say a law office or something. So it is a difference. It's a different land use code. The manual gets detailed, but not truly granular. We would use medical office, but we're not talking about a differential of like ×2 comparing like a law office to a medical office. It is more. We would bake that in the numbers and get it as accurate as we possibly can. But I don't want the planning commission to believe that because it's a medical building that the numbers will be substantially.
Understand that, but you should run those numbers and town engineer should review those numbers.
I have a question, Ms. Bennett. I mean, this re-subdivision, this is not a recommendation again to the council. This is the only part of a PUD type of, situation where the plan commission is the sole determinant of that and not a recommendation to the town council.
For purposes of the plat.
Well, okay, how about this 25-015? That's
The plat.
okay, so that's so the plan commission does the plat. So once we say yay or nay or come up with something as it pertains to where those lots are, that stays within this particular group, but that then goes to the county and becomes the law until the developer or property owner rechanges, if he wants to change it. So, keep in mind for us that this first one is saying the lots and how they're proposed. This is what the petitioner's wanting to do. Are you comfortable with that? Because once you say yes, then that's it. Everything runs for that. If you say no, then really some of these other things are going to be necessarily mute until you determine how you want and see that parcel benefiting what's going on during these conversations, if that makes sense.
No, Mr. Rigby, you're correct in the sense that the plat has to be approved. A plat has to be approved first. All the rest cannot be finalized until this is established because of the detail that the plat sets forth is what has to then be put forth in the standards and everything else. Now the plat is incorporated, back to your current question, the plat is incorporated obviously part of the PUD plan and the PUD ordinance that those standards are encompassed in and is part of this. So this does in fact go to the plan, I'm sorry, to the council. The plat will as part of the
Right.
ordinance part, as part of the ordinance approval.
But not like an amendment to the PUD.
Correct. That will, it stands on its own in that sense for that approval, but it's
Right.
it very well could get to the council and the council could say, we're not approving
Right.
this
You
modification.
guys don't know what you're talking about, we're
That way.
doing ABC. So 25-015 is really just where the lots are and the traffic, meaning the roundabout and the interchange and the curb cut on Calumet Ave. So that's all a part of 25-015, and that's this group. So it has an impact on all the other things, but Sprouts likes the location and then wants to hurry up because in development, time is money. So whether it's that box or this box, they just need to know it's a box so they can start doing their stuff and everything else, filters off of that. But the determination comes from this group. And I don't know how much longer you want to talk about it tonight, or do you want to, do something else or move it right along, knowing full well that we want to try to be helpful, but also like to have all the information that we need, and staff has all the information that they need to do the things that need to be done to check all the boxes in the public sector.
And I would propose to you that until this is worked out, you're just touching the other documents over and over and over again without a solution, because this has to be finalized first.
Mr. Chairman, based on staff's report on PC 25015, I would make a motion to table PC 25015, PC 25016, PC 25017, and 2518.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
We can open to public.
Hold on a second. So Ms. Bennett, can you make a motion again on all of those, even though we have this as a public hearing?
We just table the public hearing and everything.
If anybody's here to speak in favor or against, they should have the option to do so, and then the public hearing should remain open to the next hearing so that as new evidence and new information is taken by the commission, that the public has an opportunity to address that as well.
So is the motion stand the way it is without having to call up these additional petitions?
The other petitions should be called. You can incorporate them in at any point. However, they are all set for public hearing. So likewise, you could hear comments because of the way that these are all mixed together. You could open the public hearing as to all of the petitions and allow the public to speak openly as to.
So this guy Robert has made all the rules for these meetings. So how do you go about doing that with a motion already made?
Hasn't been seconded.
Okay. So, all right, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
We don't want a second yet.
Yeah, no.
Well, I have to do this, don't I? Going
No, you
once?
can just sit out there because the discussion can still continue.
Okay,
With the motion on the table, but without a second. Whereas if you in fact want to open it up to the public at this point, that and you want to do that as to all of them, that I would introduce and incorporate all of the petitions.
Is there anyone from the public that is here to speak on any of the Centennial Village petitions tonight? Not to say the numbers.
Please.
Which are PC 25-015, PC 25-016, PC 25-017, and PC 25-018. Once, going twice. So nobody's here to speak on those particular petitions.
The question is leave it open.
Don't close the public.
And then you have a motion on the table. You can call for a second if you're ready to proceed on that.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Wait a moment real quick, if you don't mind.
I don't do that.
You can't do that. They have to proceed.
Going once.
Which motion?
Table.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Oh, anything else? Motion and a second, Mr. Mendoza.
Commissioner Brandon,
Yes.
Councilor Hopper,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Councilor Nellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Raffle,
Yes.
Councilor Schinkin,
Pass.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes. All right, sorry, folks, please, let's resolve the issues to make it as straightforward. Mr. Mendoza from your office and Ms. Bennett to provide them with the type of items that they need to provide and when, so we can not have to do this again. It's a little challenging for all involved. That would be greatly appreciated, and hopefully the petitioner could also be able to provide what's requested, so we can make sure that these things aren't moved along. Still not sure why we're still, it is what it is. Okay. Next up is a public hearing for PC 25-021 subdivision preliminary plat. Scott Young, attorney on behalf of GHK Developments, requested review of the preliminary plat for proposed replat of 45th Avenue Addition, Lot 1. 4-lot subdivision to be known as 45th Street Properties LLC. Mr. Mendoza, did you like to set this all up for us on purpose? Because it's the holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Right?
No, definitely, no, I did not. Unfortunately, what happened here is we received an update to the, I'm sorry, let me start with the application here. This request is for a 4-lot subdivision. They are proposing to take a 1-lot subdivision and parcel it out into 4 additional lots. They're proposing here in the yellow, you see a outlot, and they're looking to propose in the red a 2-story self-storage facility. They would then be creating a lot of record for the Hampton Beach building, and then the strip mall shopping center would have its own lot. As part of this, they've also included in the subdivision sign easements, cross access easements as well. The one thing that we are still lacking from this subdivision is the review from the town engineers with regards to stormwater and the management thereof, as well as a quote or an estimate of the public infrastructure improvements that get attached to that approval. So we need those public infrastructure improvement or a quote on that. So that would then be tied to the subdivision process in the form of surety in case the developer fails to perform. The town is protected with the surety in place for public infrastructure.
When does that usually show up?
That usually shows up at the final plat approval, but it's recommended, it's a recommendation after.
Final plat approval, but theoretically though, the final plat approval couldn't happen if there's no surety, right?
They would have, yes, they would have crossed.
So they should have that before final plat, or at least becomes for a vote.
As part of the motion.
Because we didn't have one of those on Centennial Village either, did we?
There was a recommendation, there was not, because which project, recent project?
Yeah, why don't we just list the subdivision?
So the subdivision proposed for Spanish Village, there was a recommendation in there that
Right.
it needed public improvements, but there's no discussion for that matter.
So why would it come in front of us unless that had been hammered out at some office here?
That's why the motion was to defer, because it also included that additional information from the county.
But why are we wasting time with people and that energy when I think it should be brought to us when everything is presented.
Yes, that would help
Yeah.
expedite.
It should be 100%, or we shouldn't even be having conversations.
I agree.
I mean, this is a waste.
And that
Of time.
becomes a policy call, because of the bluntly, the push of developers and wanting, right, to get things moving, get things started.
Right, time's money, I get it.
And that historically has not been, the position that's come from prior councils to,
Okay.
The cake has been baked, I guess somebody said, right?
Yeah.
How does it happen?
So you can rebake the cake.
You remember the wait a minute.
So,
You're unique in the sense that,
I just wanted to add that. Unique in the sense that you don't have a policies and procedures guidelines for BZA and plan commission. Whereas other communities have that, and they specifically spell out that you shall not, the staff shall not accept unless all the boxes have been checked. And developers know this. And until they meet those requirements within the rules and procedures, they are not to.
Well, let's pass some rules and procedures.
well, I would even go a step further though, is that there is the policy or there is the backing by the elected officials and department heads that support that. My experience in many towns is the push then comes for, oh, let's get this through a little faster. They'll get you the information, and then that becomes the practice, even with rules in place. So it really does come down to having that enforcement.
I've seen
of
that.
Telling people no until they do all of their work, presented timely to have staff review it, not the day of, the day before.
So what do we need
You
to
know.
do to set this?
Sorry, am I being scolded right now? No.
No, not at all.
This is everything. This is
No,
years of
no.
frustration.
Right.
Right.
Part of it that we.
It's a learning process for you
But we
too.
don't control the third party engineer report.
This is something that.
And I would propose from Mr. Yank's standpoint that he's just privy to the experience of Munster.
Yeah.
Has been the case, it's what's been expected, or it's what's been allowed.
Because we're tabling yours too.
Yeah, we're gonna table it.
By the way, we are, and we'll acknowledge that upfront, so.
Not if it's set for public
Or at
hearing.
least, okay, part of it.
Once it's set for public hearing, it has to remain on the agenda every single month.
But I guess it's here to keep it off of the preliminary hearings until everything is finally met before you say.
Is depending on what the rules say. If the rules provide for that, that allow for, well, yes and no. Well, yes, absolutely, because state statute says that the things that are set up, and then once an application is complete, that then it must be heard by the planning commission within 60 days. So it's that classification of completeness. So it turns on, like I go back to, it's the strength of the policy and the people that are behind it to back staff when staff says no. And often it's
Well, I think.
we want this to move, we want this to go, let's just kind of get them started and help them out, and
It's public
you'll wind up
safety,
where you're
great.
at.
Yeah, this is,
Okay, let's refocus here. So are we talking about this process now? Are we talking about the introduction of this new petition? What are we doing here? So I would like to do this petition. We know there's a lot of things that need to be resolved. This is one of them. I mean, that preliminary and final approved development plan, I mean, there's a litany of things that would make this a more efficient process and really help economic development move quicker through the process within the community. If the private sector looking to invest money in our community has a predetermined path of how to be able to do that and what it will take to get it done. And it, just like everything else in life, it's real easy to say, not so easy to do.
But Mr. Chairman, once again, I'm looking at 3 major agenda items tonight, all have a recommendation to the table. So I'm gonna spend another hour and a half, 2 hours going over something again that's not ready to be presented.
I understand.
Mr. Yang can provide insight on this as well, into the sense of different communities, right? Some are very, very strict. And others are not. So
All right, let me
Economic development.
let me work on this agenda, folks, and we can solve the world's problems later. So, you introduced it already, Mr. Mendoza, I forgot already.
Yes, and essentially I concluded that, we did not receive engineer review on the stormwater as well as an estimate. So in this case, it is not a fault of the applicant, it's just additional information that we need to, supply for this request here.
Right. Okay, is there any other questions for Mr. Mendoza on this one? Because again, this is gonna be a re-subdivision, so this group sets where these lines go and how they're gonna be recorded at the county, and then we move through the other aspects of what they want to do in the development. Yes, sir, if you're here to speak on behalf of the petition, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Scott Ye, 3 Lincoln Way, Suite 201, South Graysville, Indiana. Thank you very much for being here tonight. And we do own some of this, so I want to set the stage up front. Part of it is, we were all caught in a little bit of a blender here because it's been 3 weeks, as you all know, since you all got back together because we had a Veterans Day holiday that impacted the last meeting. And so that made us a week earlier than we normally would convene again. And of course, we had Thanksgiving during that time. So one of the things, not quite germane to this first petition, but I'm going to mention it now because I gave you some handouts. Our architects, right? We said, okay, here we've got an about face for you. Hey, I can't get that to you in time. I got something today. So that's not enough time for Sergio or you all to review. But I'm hoping to at least advance the discussion so that when we come back in January, we can address all of these items. But I want to make sure that today or tonight, I address the items that you did raise. I have a pretty good memory of the items you raised in your, and I know, that was part of the minutes not being here too, I'm sure. We just had a compressed time frame. So in this petition, first of all, I have with me Tom Connolly. He's one of the developers. He was here with us last time. Jared DeCote, I believe, is on our Zoom. He is our architect. So he'll be available if we have to at least listen and join in if you need him. But the first item is the plat of subdivision. And we're proposing a 4-lot subdivision. And as Mr. Raffin was kind of questioning us as to why, simply in the lawyer's terms, why you drew the line here rather than here. Why do we need 4 lots and should these lines be elsewhere? I'm a little concerned about parking, et cetera, right, et cetera. We worked with Stuart Allen and Turinga to help us lay this out. We originally have a 1-lot PUD, 1-lot subdivision right now. We need the 2nd lot at the back for this PUD amendment. Fundamentally, that's what we need. At some point in the process, I think it was site review, and I'm kind of going back to my notes, it was suggested that we consider making the lot that's developed for Danny Z's, and then the contemplated future development on the northwest corner to make that another lot, presumably so we can apply some standards when you all consider a development plan someday. That said, we're going to cover this entire property with cross easements so that parking accesses all of the spaces here. If you told us tonight, we think drawing the lines for the 2 outlots doesn't make sense. We're not here telling you that we need to draw those lines. So I do want to, we want to listen and make accommodations today as based on your contributions. Another item that was raised, and I think it was Mr. Rackman as well, what about the access that exists right now? Right now, it's observed, but it doesn't exist legally anywhere. Once these folks acquire the property, they will commit, and if we need to make it a commitment as part of this process, to providing a cross easement that will serve that other property to, kind of clean something up that wasn't done before. They're open to that. We will reflect it in our documents as necessary. There were some other items. We were using, part of the problem when you type out pavilion, and especially at 10 font, the I's and the L's all look the same. we were using an old world spelling, which is two L's and a single in the common, which is one L. We will unify all of the documents. So I think we've submitted as one L, all documents will be converted to one L, and didn't notice that until Sergio pointed it out to us on the plat that you have from Stewart. Sorry, I already called it Torrington. So, and then the other item is we have the updated PUD standards. And this is kind of a process discussion. I had given a rushed version of an update to Sergio right before the last commission meeting. It had the word November, had a typo in it. I've since done a complete update of that document, including some contributions that Ms. Bennett forwarded to me, at least for our consideration after the meeting, that I've incorporated into that updated document. I thought that I had sent that on, but then I realized, no, I didn't, because I was waiting for our architect's update to see if that would result in any changes to that document as well, and it will. Sergio has made some other suggested changes. One of the comments that I would make, kind of going to your process, is how because we're really starting to dive into these development standards documents now. I've got another case that's going to really have a deep dive in those that I've talked to you about before, is how we do that. And I don't need to solve that tonight. But for example, I have a red line in the packet that I got in the staff report from Sergio that, shows that, oh, boy, typo November. I sure would like to have some sort of process where we could do that beforehand. Different towns handle that differently. I don't know that there is an answer, but I think that's something that maybe you all consider. So I just throw that out for consideration. So I think I hit the big points on the plat of subdivision. Do we like those lines where we are? Do we address them differently? We will hit those easements. And then we'll clean up by the time we come back here in January. I would suggest that you maybe provide some latitude to working on a kind of a collaborative document, perhaps with Sergio and Nicole, to come to a document. But if that's not the way we do it, and we do it and then we catch the typo at the meeting, we can do that as well. I'm just trying to think ahead how we could do that a little more efficiently. And this one's a little easier than, for example, another one I have coming down the road, and it's almost more of a little bit of a workshop back and forth. And
just tell us what it is. Are we going to see it?
What's that?
You keep talking about another one. I mean,
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Another big project that's already been before you. Uses were approved, but we need to come back with development standards. And we have been sending drafts to the Saxon, Gary Warple's project. So I'm just thinking of that. So sorry.
another big project. Okay, all right. So are you finished with your
Yes,
presentation,
nothing
Ms.
further.
Cheney? Yes. All right. So we're back on
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Sergio, does it matter right now to plot lot 1 or just keep it regular with the other lot 2 and amendment to the PUD based on future use?
I guess it just depends on if you want to see, Mr. Yang.
We enjoy seeing.
So as he mentioned,
donuts.
as he mentioned earlier, it really is the way to clean something up. By creating these lots, you are essentially establishing lots of record that are currently do not comply with the current subdivision code or zoning code. So you would be establishing a lot of record for Gang Z's, a lot of record for the existing strip mall, and a future lot of record. So that way, at some point in time, you'd be receiving a development plan for that lot of record rather than going through the subdivision process and then going through another development process. So you are establishing or planning the site for future development.
And does that give us, by not doing lot 1 right now, does that give us more of a future option to look at uses in a lot 1 if it's not?
The uses would be identified in your PUD, not in your subdivision.
But once you set the subdivision, once you set the lots, those are the lots.
Right.
Because everything from this point forward after that is a PUD amendment, and that all is recommendations from us and the council for them to do the amendments on the PUD. But you're also gonna wanna know, do you wanna clean up that site? Do you want the standards to be the fabulousness that was burgers and Rigerties? Also keep in mind too, that from a historical perspective, there was, I don't know how many years ago was it, they came and wanted to do that sublot or this subdivision with that outlot on the corner was gonna be a car wash. And that got shot down. So from a development perspective, what you do what I do for this is I want to sell that lot to the bank, or I want to sell this to the restaurant. You're able to carve the development up, but now it's in a one PUD, you're not able to do that. So this is trying to maximize your potential revenue sources, yeah.
Not necessarily,
Not necessarily that's what you're doing. I'm just providing a little context here from the standpoint of a development perspective for folks that don't do this for a living, Mr. Yaney, which you do. So that said, is there any questions for Mr. Yaney? With regards to what we're trying to accomplish? You have a recommendation from staff. We're not talking about what it looks like yet, but
I wasn't gonna, but,
I'm looking at both of you.
but I also wanna understand, like, for lot 3, where, is this where the uses are determined? So, like, for example, I would hate to see a gas station right there, so is that,
That's established in the standards.
okay,
As Nancy indicated that we just provided a new draft today, so if
Their review.
staff hasn't even looked at it yet, let alone, to get into those kinds of considerations. Again, it obviously that'll be the work in progress, but starting here with what you're looking at least for the current layout, and then whatever the decision is and where you're drawing those lines
so this is just simply arranging the site.
for this petition.
Yeah.
And we still don't have all the information, or staff doesn't have all the information yet, right? So we're looking almost at the same setup that we just went through. Yes. And these are still public.
They're all public hearings.
You want to open for the public first?
Sure. Is anybody here from the public want to talk about this particular petition? Once.
You can combine the others too as well if you want to know, sure.
You can buy them again.
Oh.
So,
Chatter on Facebook, I don't know why they're not here, but, okay.
well, because they have to go out of their
Well, I
house.
reminded them when the meeting was, but.
So the subdivision was a preliminary plat that was 25-021. Second is PC 25-022, so PUD amendment. And number 3 is PC 25-023, which is a development plan review. So all of those tie into this particular project. All are up for public discussion. I'm sorry, Ms. Bennett, I'm getting older. Is it a continuation of the public?
It is, these are all new. Those would just be opening the public hearing.
All right,
This
so
is the first hearing that's been set on these 3 petitions.
first hearing that's been set.
First public hearing.
Okay. All right, so is there anybody want to speak on either of these 3 petitions? Once, going twice. Can't close it, but I can continue it.
Go ahead and leave it open, and then whatever is the pleasure of the commission on taking action today, obviously, if this is tabled, then this would be able to continue right with it.
Somebody please make it.
Make the motion. I will make the motion to table PC 25-021. A proposed 4-lot subdivision of Pavilion on 45th, lots 1 through 4, until a stormwater engineering review has been reviewed and proposed PUD bulk design and uses is updated, including all discussion and findings.
There's a motion. Could we do all of those as a motion, or have to call up each one?
You got them.
Ms. Bennett?
You can do them all.
Okay, then do the next one too, please.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And 23.
So motion to table, do I have to read the whole thing? Or can I just say the number? Motion to table.
For the same reasons.
25-021, or 22 and 23 for the same reason.
And I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, just one thing. Mr. Young, while we're tabling this, can we take a look at the architecture?
That's what he was just
Yes,
asking.
because I see 67%
you.
increase. There will not be 67% increase. I don't think that doesn't meet our current code. I asked last month to make sure you show us a building that meets our current design standards. I think the store even in Dyers and all makes her building I shop at that Jewel quite often, right? That's your other building in Dyer next to Jewel.
And this would be just for this building, not proposing anything for the other, or this
Well,
standard?
the
that
other,
we
buil-
approve
the
here
other,
would be-
the other PUD standards, we're still going through the developmental standards regarding materials, correct, Ms. Bennett? That's just been presented. We're still going through the whole.
I'm
PUD
assuming
development
that those
standards.
are in your most recent draft, you've added to that as well.
I have not added,
This
because they
portion.
need to
Okay.
be, we need to
But yes,
sort
so
this
it's an
out, but they
ongoing,
will be in the final
will be
version.
ongoing discussion.
Yeah.
But the PUD standards for that whole parcel will reflect what this building will look like that meet our current code as well as future buildings on lot one, correct?
That's the intention, is to incorporate it into, right, the full PUD document that's gonna pick up all lots.
Each
It might be
lot.
separated as to what's on
The
each, but it will
existing-
account for everything.
Right, and then we obviously gathered your input as to what we do on, this is lot 2. And then, did I say that right? Lot 4.
Lot four, that's right.
Lot 4, sorry. Well, if we stay with. Also, I do want us to, I brought back some slides here. Let me see if I get to this one.
Knows how to operate the tech.
Look
at
Well.
Usually,
Yeah, John.
usually I touch it, it goes around the screen. Right, it's by accident.
Let's get you a pen.
Okay. Just to give you a reminder, though, we do have a limited, I guess, visibility perspective. We're a building behind a building. We were hoping for some disparate treatment of, this was what we had last time, right? We were hoping for some disparate treatment of what you can see here versus what we're burying behind the building.
I would say the same thing in Dyer, but I can see the whole building is Main Street.
I would hope that you would change that Manson roof.
Oh,
You have a new
Yeah.
proposal now.
No, they didn't, the green one.
well,
Oh, well.
oh, yeah, that is.
So
yeah.
I would encourage you to build a building more than a 20-year lifespan that has a future use that's not a stucco building.
All right.
Okay, is that it for the architectural stuff, or is there more?
And I
No,
believe
I
we have a
think-
motion in a
I
second.
mean, I like that you put the triangle, I know there's an architectural term for that, but it looks much better.
There's a motion and second, any other discussion?
Was a second?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Who was in second?
Mr. Shaver. Be there no more discussion, Mr. Mendoza, motion and second, table, 3.
Commissioner Brannigan,
Yes.
Councilor Hopper,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Councilor Nellens,
Yes.
Commissioner Rappin.
Yes.
Councilor Schinkin.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes. All right, moving right along, since we don't have any documents for the finding of facts, I'm gonna move along to other business. Is there any other business? Talked about a lot of other business leading up to all of this, about some of the rules and regulations. Please help us in going into the new year, that we have some guardrails on the process for the developers.
We have a draft.
Beautiful.
So
Thank
we
you.
need to cross-reference that, which, proposed Article 9, and subdivision code.
Just to make it easier on all of us moving forward, you guys especially.
That was my question. Do we, in doing that, do we discourage economic development, or are our neighbors doing the same things and we're just?
Most have the policies and plans in place for it, statute, but it really.
Developers
I
like-
Like disciplining your children.
I really would refer to Scott a little bit on this. What would you say? Have difficult or have strict rules and the other half are really like Munster?
True. They're all a little bit different, right? And so because I see different practices,
Yeah.
different places, I try to, oh, this would be ideal. So one of the great things that Munster started doing was a site review committee. Because a lot of places that happens in private, right? It's a staff meeting around the mayor's table in the cities and or it doesn't help happen elsewhere. The other difficulty that we have in Munster is kind of the economic development component of this, because that is part of the discussion that doesn't get to be teased out anywhere. We could really use an economic development voice in this process, perhaps at site review committee, so that we can, then you can get that dialogue with developers so they can kind of give you okay, I do that, but it's gonna be this, and then I'll kill the project, right? Rather than coming here on decision night and you have this kind of discussion, it's really tough, right? And everybody's tortured at that point. One thing I might suggest is, and we may just not have the bandwidth and the time due to the demands you face. But in some other, when I work with some planners, for example, there's a long lead up process before I can get on an agenda. Here, I go to site review, and then it's like, okay, submit your whole plan of documents, and then it's basically, and then whether we want to or not, we're on the timetable, we're coming to this meeting in public, and something happened, we can't change it, right? There's a little more dialogue involved, and to be eligible to be on an agenda requires planner, some discussions with planner, kind of some back and forth. Hey, I want you to cross this T, change this word.
That's great. Work with those guys.
Yeah.
I think it might make it easier, but it's tough on everybody here. You got
And as I
sophisticated
said, wouldn't you agree?
development.
It
Yeah.
comes a lot at the elected official and department head support of that.
That's true too. Yeah, you got, as much as I say, at some point you got to defer to your professionals. So
And would you rather take it to that village or this, like, if you're gonna take a project, all other things are equal, I'm assuming you would rather.
All right, so you want to hear the non-political answer?
Yes.
Just the truth.
Yeah.
All right, everyone is different. For example, I do a lot of work in Hammond because I've done a lot of work.
on the record still?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
are.
are, and I'm gonna speak freely.
Okay.
You all can be mad at me or not. I like, because I know when I go to Hammond, it's been vetted, but I pretty much know what's gonna happen before I walk in the room.
Because the planners told you whether or not it's gonna go forward.
That's right, because we've vetted it out, we've had the discussion, the planners decided, and they've already had that internal discussion.
Can you,
They
also have
can you
casinos.
identify
They also have
the staff that is in Hammond?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Hammond has 4 staff, and they have people to help review and supplement here. You
Oh,
know,
there's
Sergio's
6,
just
7
over,
people
I know
that
he's just, he doesn't
are-
have time.
Apples and oranges, so that's.
I tell, by the way, what I tell people, I don't know if I told Tom this, or he can deny it, is that you're gonna go here, and once you're gonna go before very sophisticated people with professional backgrounds that are gonna ask you really hard questions. But I don't know what is gonna happen when we go that night, because it's like going in front of 7 mayors, you know? But it's good and bad, right? And we come to a lot of, I think we have really great dialogues, and we've made some improvements on projects. And I think it is very valuable. I don't know what the best answer is here, right? You're not, we don't have a centralized government in Munster, it's different. But you're way more functional than a lot of places I go. And also it's a very professional analysis, you're arguing about things that are not the sort of things that I argue about some places that you just,
Okay.
stuff you'd rather not, and it gets ugly, right?
Thank you, Mr. Annie.
Yes, thank you.
All right, any other discussion items? Once, twice, next meeting, January 13th, and I think it's 2026, that's gonna be the meeting, 2025. And, happy holidays to everybody, and happy new year, we don't, cross paths, and we'll take a motion to adjourn. All
Second.
those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you for coming out, folks.
Thank you.
It's a wild ride.